half of the UK's most famous female comedy duo, played also the much-loved fictitious Vicar of Dibley, and is, of course, also a best-selling author. Dawn French's fifth novel is out tomorrow, entitled Enough. It's described as darkly funny, and it does have some serious and difficult themes that she thinks needs unpicking and discussing. So we're going to do just that here in the Woman's Hour studio. Dawn French, welcome back to Woman's Hour.
Thank you, thank you.
So publication day is tomorrow. Yes. I was lucky, I got to read it early. But you've had several books. I believe this is your 8th book. Yeah. In this one, you're delving into very serious things. Are you at all nervous about how it may be received?
Nervous? Yes, probably. I mean, I think I'm as excited and nervous as I am about each of the novels that I've written, partly because you are alone with it, of course, for months writing it, and suddenly it's there for everybody else. And that's what you do it for. I mean, that's the very reason you do it, and yet you're nervous. It's like sort of showing your baby to people. You just don't want anyone to say it's a bit ugly.
It's not at all ugly. Your baby is very beautiful, Dawn.
Thank you. And
let's talk about, I mean, really the person I come back to is Etta, who's the protagonist, who's the central character in Enough. Will you tell us a little bit about her?
Yeah. Etta is a piece of work, really. She's 68 and she's a content person, really. She's mentally well. She's physically pretty well. But she's made a decision. And I'm going to read a little bit from the beginning of the book for you, which will sort of set it in context. And one morning, Etta wakes up and she wakes up her family that are staying with her son, her daughter-in-law, her granddaughter. And she takes them down through her garden to the beach at the bottom of the garden. "Settle in, guys. Don't burn your feet." Etta directed her beloveds to sit around the rim of the hollow. As they sat huddled together, the sky slowly opened up, offering the tip of the sun to the morning, flooding the wide-open beach with orange light, Etta's favourite time of day, dawn. Etta eventually took a very deep indeed breath and said, "I'm so happy we're all together to share this lovely sight. I want you all to know that in this exact moment, I truly love you all." "Oh, Mum, shut it," Dolly laughed as she attempted to nip her mother's familiar cheeriness in the bud. "I want you to remember the vast joy of this moment. You will need to remember it often," Etta said. This is a before moment, she thought. All other moments from now on, for them, will be after moments. "You see, the thing is, today is my last day," she whispered. They looked at each other, confused. "Eh? Your last day? Before what?" Dolly wanted to know. "Before I go." "Where? Where are you going? You're going back to India on holiday? You better take your Imodium this time." Vernon reminded them all of that awful time Etta had terrible dysentery and how she had ended up in hospital. "Yeah," Dolly remembered, "or a cork." They all giggled, except Etta. "No," she said quietly. "Today is my last day alive. I won't be here tomorrow." So that's the beginning.
Yes,
of the book.
And we're brought straight into it, like boom, from the beginning. And actually right until the end, you keep us guessing. But, you know, I was reading it and I immediately was like 60. I was like, what age is Dawn French? Right?
Yeah, like, that is my age.
And I was like, do we need to have a word? But what was the impetus, the catalyst to think about this very vivacious, funny woman surrounded by a loving family, living in a beautiful part of the world, it appears, to think about that she wants to end her life, her wonderful life.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm 68 and I don't think anyone who is my age doesn't think about what is to come. And I started to toy with the idea of what if somebody really went to extremes here? And I have a little bit, I think, of permission to write about this. I am the child of suicide.
Your
I
father.
have to clarify that what happened with my dad was very different to what I'm writing about here with Etta. My dad had very serious depression, and this was when I was 19 that happened, and it exploded my family. It was the most dreadful thing, and I sort of I have spent a lifetime wishing my dad had had the talking therapy that he clearly needed, and I wish that he, at that time, he wasn't surrounded with the shame and all the taboo and the sinfulness of all of it. But what happened with my dad, which was so drippingly griefful, the whole thing was just awful. I've lived for a long time now thinking about it, and I think I've been through all the stages of grief around it, ending up as you mature. I hope. Well, I'm sort of mature, not entirely. I start to wrap understanding around what was going on for my dad, who must have been in 7 kinds of hell to do what he did. But also my dad was a very cheerful, loving, very engaged, happy father. But he dealt with those awful black dogs. But I sort of think that because I have considered suicide and because I want to take that shame and that, it is a sin still. It is illegal. You do not get your insurance. It's a dreadful thing. And I want to remove all of that. Now, I'm not advocating this as a plan, but I think that Etta, as I put myself in her character to consider this, she has decided that she's going to excuse her kids from the duty of whatever the tough bit is that is to come, which is, that last bit of life. Now, who knows how long it will be? Who knows how prickly it will get? Nobody knows. But Etta has decided, she's a bit of a control freak, and she's decided to control the end of her life as much as she has controlled all the rest of it.
It does provoke so many thoughts.
Yeah.
You talk about suicide there, and you say, I considered suicide, meaning every iteration of it,
yes.
Be it for your father, who was a young
Yeah.
man. He was 45.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
68 is young
It's
as
young,
well, might I add.
exactly.
But
I agree.
With Etta, we see this very cool, calm and collected woman who
Yeah.
feels she wants to spare her children the messy part that can be the end
That's right.
of life. And we had debates in the office about whether Etta was selfish
Yeah.
or selfless.
Exactly. That's the whole point of, and when I set out to write this book, I knew that this would be my main thrust, that Etta has made a decision. She's considered it at great length, and she believes that she is right to do this, and she believes she's being selfless. And what she decides to do, instead of enact her plan and leave a note for her children, she decides to tell them so that they have 24 hours in which to ask her anything they want to ask, and she can explain herself. So this is her living suicide note to them. But, of course, her kids have plenty to say. And when I started to write it, I honestly didn't know what the ending was going to be. And that was my challenge to myself. I thought, OK, I'm going to climb into Etta's brain, and which is difficult because this is not my thinking at all. But this is a woman who has decided something. And then I'm going to climb into the brains of these kids who have been thrust into this awful, panicky situation and have 24 hours to dissuade their mum.
And yes, you keep us guessing to the very last.
I do.
To the very last page. I will say that suicide is not illegal now. It was in the past, is my understanding from a law.
It was when my dad, when that happened.
And I'm very sorry that you went through that.
Thank you.
As a 19-year-old young woman as well. It must have been, I'm sure, had so many ramifications or consequences. But you do come from this as a place of authority, I think we can say.
Thank you.
But I suppose what it was also, even though this is about suicide, it was also making me think about assisted dying.
Yeah.
And I know you have been vocal on that as well. But you say with 1,000 caveats?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I listen, I don't know enough about the process of it. To me, it seems like a no-brainer, so long as family, lawyers, doctors, everyone has agreed, and that the person has agency over this. Having witnessed the death of my mother and other older people in my life, I have no doubt that it is the right thing to do, and I cannot understand why we are so merciless about it. But of course, we have to wrap all kinds of legislation around it.
And there will be many that, of course, disagree vehemently
I
with you.
understand that.
Because even going back to your book enough, we see immediately Dolly, her daughter, Vernon, her son, and also Lizzie, her daughter-in-law, although doesn't get as involved.
Yeah.
And I'm sure her granddaughter Pearl would be against it as well.
Definitely.
So, at times there cannot be agreement on certain issues. And so that's, I suppose, where the law comes in. But with this, as a parent, as a mother in this particular case, it could raise the question, do you ultimately belong to your children by having them? Have you entered into a contract that allows them to have a say over your life and decisions?
Who does your life belong to? I would like to believe it belongs solely to you.
Really?
I would like to believe that, but I think I know that when you have children, it's different. It's a sort of octopus with long tentacles, isn't it? And you have brought people into the world and they have rights. And her children in this book explain that. They want the right to look after her. But maybe the journey through this book means that they have to wake up a little bit as to where her state of mind is and why she's feeling like this.
Because I feel there's a thread of loneliness through it. Even though she obviously has lots of people around her and a wonderful home and loads of interests and is obviously an interesting woman.
Yeah, I think loneliness is not just about people that are isolated with the door shut. People can feel lonely in a crowd and people can feel lonely in their lives. And I certainly know from a lot of people, especially women, that I know that are of this kind of age, that if you've retired, if your work is finished maybe, if your children are having their children or are on their way, have fled the nest, there can be a sense of purposelessness, and my own mother had it. My mum, retired at 75.
But she had been, particularly once your father died, a mother and a father to you, I read.
She was.
So she must have had like an incredibly intense life at certain points.
She did. And my mum's life was really in service of my dad's life, who was in the RAF. She'd followed him everywhere.
You moved around.
We did. We were really itinerant, and like any service kids are. But my mum came into, I would not have wished it on her, of course not. But my mum came into her own after my dad died, because that was when my mum decided to give her life away to all kinds of things. She set up refuge for women with drug and alcohol problems. My mum set up Hamo's House, which is a huge charity in Plymouth, which helps people with all kinds of problems with drugs and alcohol. And my mum spent her life looking after other people because she had the energy to do that. And I don't think she would have done that otherwise. And my mum really, as you say, became a parent to both of us. But at 75, when my mum finally stepped away from work, I remember having a conversation with her where she didn't know the point of her life. And I couldn't believe that, because she was so valuable to us.
Yes.
But in her own thinking, for a moment, she was thinking, what's the point of me? What's the point of me? So luckily, I was able to say, Mum, we need you. We need you.
So maybe you're Dolly in the book, not Etta.
Well, let's see. I am actually everyone in this book, a little bit. I'm everyone. Yeah, a little bit.
Because
and I do, listen, I'm an actor, I guess, and I'm an improviser. So writing fiction for me means, as I say, climbing into each of these characters, and I've come to love each one of them.
The family are sparky, challenging, argumentative.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, families I know. Partly my family. I've cherry-picked bits from my own family, but it's not entirely. Nobody in this book is exactly anybody in my family. But it's everything I know. I know that robust debate around the kitchen table. I know how rivalrous and competitive quick-wittedness can can be.
You have to be fast,
You
right?
have to bring your weapons, and if you're unarmed, you're sort of left out. And that's really why I wanted to write Lizzie as well, who is the daughter-in-law, who is a meeker character, no less valuable, but somebody quieter. And if you're in a loud family, the quiet people can be overlooked.
Consumed.
Yeah.
I read that you write longhand.
I do.
How is that? I mean, I can hardly write a Christmas card without my hand being tired.
I think in the history of time, more people have written books longhand than any other way, probably.
Yes,
in the history
but there's
of time.
lots of things they did in the past as
That's
well,
true.
Dawn, that we're
That's
not doing
true.
now.
What you've got to remember is that I never caught up with technology. I mean, I've got a little tablet, but I don't want to write on that. And I like my writing to look like my writing. So I love a pencil. I love a lined page. I love rubbing things out. I love the smell of the lead. I love all of that. I mean, it's old-fashioned. I'm a bit of a Philistine with all of this. I'm aware of that. But I don't mind it. So long as somebody's happy to type it up for me, then. And I am very lucky that I have the most wonderful PA, Sue, who's been my PA for 35 years now. And funnily enough, with this book, and she's the first person who sees any book that I write because she's typing it up and we're correcting it and talking about it. And about a third of the way through writing this book, Sue called me up one day and I thought we were just going to do some corrections. She said, "Can I ask you something a bit personal?" And I thought, "Oh, what's this?" She said, "Are you okay?"
So she had the same thought I had when I was
of course,
first reading.
she was the first to experience it. And I thought, I see.
This is what you're going to have to answer.
Deal with that. And I need to tell everyone, I am okay. I am okay.
More than okay. You've finished another series, I believe, of Titting About.
Yes.
With, of course, your longtime collaborator,
Yes.
Jennifer Saunders.
Yeah.
Is she the person who makes you laugh the most?
100% yes. I love the bones of that woman. And really, our friendship came first, and then our work, we showed off together at college.
I love to think about when Dawn met Jennifer.
In a flat. And we didn't really like each other, to begin with. We're very
Really?
different. We're very different. And we were at different stages. Listen, I was in grief. I arrived at
course,
college
you'd
with all of
just lost
that
your
going
dad,
on,
yeah.
pretending to be happy. And I think she saw through that very quickly. She's very different to me. She's very calm and cool, collected chick, and I'm not. I'm bouncy people pleaser. And so she calmed me a bit and I ignited her a little bit. And we just made each other laugh. We shared a flat together. And I remember thinking, oh no, I've got to share it with her. And it was only minutes later that I thought, oh, I love this woman. And we just invented characters together, and then we did them in cabaret at college, and then we did them at the comic strip. And, the rest is our history together.
The serendipity of it all.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to get my ticket for Cinderella at the Palladium in London
Yes!
at Christmas because Jennifer Saunders and Dawn are playing the Ugly Sisters.
I don't know if you've ever seen a Palladium panto. It is extraordinary.
I haven't, but I think this is the one that's going to be my
It's
first.
huge and naughty. It's probably the rudest thing you will ever see, with Julian Clary wearing 13 different outfits. And us being as ugly as you can ever imagine.
I can't imagine that. Dawn French, thank you so much for coming in to us. I want to let people know that Enough is published tomorrow. All the best. Come back and see us soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lovely to have you with us. Now, I want to let